What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another buy and or sell video with Ricky Rips. This is going to be a fantastic video as we're getting closer and closer to the National, the 43rd National, actually. And I think it is a great time to run one of these segments here on the channel because there's going to be so many different players that people are buying, selling, and of course trading. But here in this video, we're only going to be focusing on buying and selling, but let's really have a in-depth conversation about a lot of polarizing players here in this hobby. Ricky, how are you doing today?
Going on, Murph? I'm doing good. The Red Sox are in town this weekend, so finally, I'm excited to see them play at Wrigley.
I know the National is like 1 week too late because if it was like this week, the Red Sox would be in town. The National, it would just be a fantastic time to be in Chicago like yourself. So I do envy you a little bit. But I hope you're ready for a stellar video today in a stellar segment because I got some hot names on here that we need to talk about, like hot names. I don't know what you
I,
came up with. Go
I
ahead.
got some names as well. I'm happy to finally be able to throw you off since you don't know who I'm talking about now.
Hit me. Go.
The first person I want to bring up is a quarterback. He's in his third year, so it's kind of a prove it, prove it
To
year.
lose it. Yeah.
Mac Jones.
That's so funny. I had him on my list too. But I had like I don't know, 5, 6 guys.
Okay.
But Mac Jones. All right. So that's a very tough question, especially around here in New England, because it is very, very biased
Mm-hmm.
because he's our quarterback, at least around here. I'm going to try to look at this from a national perspective in terms of like, just investing purposes in this hobby. And he's very tough to invest because of the shadow of Bailey Zappi and his, in my opinion, underwhelming performance. But a lot of people did enjoy Bailey Zappi last year for the 3.5 games or whatever. It is a prove it kind of a season. And this is what I constantly tell people. Alabama, he had weapons, he had coaches. He finished third in the Heisman, which is collegiate football's MVP. Rookie season, no weapons, great coaching, great O-line. Runner up for Rookie of the Year. He probably was going to win Rookie of the Year if Jamar Chase didn't go crazy those last couple games. And Pro Bowler, playoffs, all that good stuff. Take away the coach, take away the line, and he was going to be a garbage quarterback, as anyone would be, with the exception of like Mahomes or Brady, maybe. So I think where his current market is and the potential upside, I think really weighs more than the potential downside. I think Mac Jones is a really good buy right now. And I think I laid out all the reasons on why he should be a good buy right now. But I do understand why people are kind of timid with the whole Bailey Zappi thing. However, I just don't see Bill giving up on a first round quarterback oh so soon, especially with Kraft breathing down his neck. The Patriots haven't won a playoff game since Super Bowl 53 against the Rams. Bill really needs Mac Jones to perform, especially with a lack of first round picks, success that he's had in recent drafts over the past decade. What about you?
I want to buy Mac Jones just just because like the attention probably isn't on him as much as it used to be. So
Mm,
you could probably find stuff for cheaper.
agreed.
And if he turns around this year, then it'll be worth the investment.
So, like, where
So
I'm at with Mac Jones is come the national. I think a lot of people are going to be focused on your Burrow, your Mahomes, your Fields, your Lawrence, all those guys, and deservingly so. But around here, if Mac Jones performs well, people are going to want Mac Jones cards again. And I think
that's what
people
I'm
are kind of
saying.
forgetting about him, especially at such a grand scale the National is. I really think picking up Mac Jones is going to be a lot cheaper this year, way cheaper this year than it was last
Hmm.
year.
I agree.
All right. So you took one of my guys. So let's see. I'm just going to be honest. I have all quarterbacks. Because I just think it's that
Okay.
time of year. We're focusing on football. So if you have baseball or basketball, it'll be a much more intriguing conversation, I think.
I
So
do.
I'm
I
going to
do.
hit you with another quarterback like you did with me. And I'm going to kind of, uh, I'm going to be making a post about like, who to buy, who to sell this weekend on Instagram. And this guy's on my sell. So there's my answer. So I'm selling this guy, but I want to know your
Okay.
opinion. Patrick Mahomes.
Hatch.
I'm not going to give you any information on why I'm selling him. I want to hear your thoughts, and then I'll give you mine.
If we had holds, I'd be using that for him.
I agree. Good hold. Good hold. Good trade. But are we buying? Are we going to invest the big bucks to invest in Patrick Mahomes, or are we going to maybe take advantage of two-time Super Bowl MVP, two-time MVP winner? What did he just win? SB's Athlete of the Year or whatever it was, Male Athlete of the Year. Good time to be Patrick Mahomes right now.
Okay, because you just used the word invest and I just thought about it, I think I'm selling Mahomes then. Because how much higher can his stuff realistically go? He's got all the awards, he's got a Super Bowl. Like, what more can he do? But I mean, another deep playoff run, and his stuff is going to skyrocket again. So I say right now, like around the national time, I'd sell him, but only for the right price.
Right price. So this is my thing with Mahomes is there's a lot of high-end stuff. There's a lot of mid-tier stuff, and there's still a decent amount of low-end stuff. Like, I mean, I think there's like a prestige rookie PSA 8 that I have in the case for like $40, whatever. So you can still get into Mahomes fairly cheaper. But, you know, I'm not, that aside, I just think he's at such a high level where it's a good time to sell him. But I'm only selling him if I'm funding other investments. So, like, people are going crazy over Desmond Ridder right now. Desmond Ridder is not going to be Patrick Mahomes, but you can get a lot of Desmond Ridder stuff and a lot of really good high-end stuff for pretty cheap still. And if he looks good the first 4 weeks of the season, you can go sell it and, you know, still pocket the how much you made off of the Mahomes. You can go pocket the investment from, you know, selling the Desmond Ridders. So I'm only selling if I'm going to fund other investments because I think Patrick Mahomes, I mean, there's going to be dips, there's going to be rises. That's just with any market. But I think there's just a lot of hype right now because of that whole, oh my God, he could get to Tom Brady's 7 Super Bowls after winning the second one. And it's like the AFC is going to be incredibly tough. Chiefs are at the top. That's a given. But it's still going to be very, very difficult. Kelsey's getting older. Mahomes, I mean, thankfully he hasn't had any injuries, but that has to be a factor as he starts to get older now. I think he's going to age 28 season, so he's still fairly young. But again, I'm only selling to fund other investments, although Mahomes is still a great investment himself. So that's where I stand.
So we're both selling, but cautiously under certain circumstances.
Very cautiously. Like, I'm not just going to do it just to do it and just pocket the whole thing. Like, I mean, yeah, that'd be a nice fancy dinner, but no. There's another move to be made if I'm selling Mahomes.
All right. So that's a nice segue into our next guy, talking about trading and point guards.
Okay.
Damian Lillard.
Oh, man. Damian Lillard. I love Damian Lillard. I've been a huge fan of him for a long time. I even have like a player t-shirt of him, actually. Lillard.
He's getting older. He finally wants to be traded, presumably to the Heat, but we'll see how that works out. So they'll be a contender.
I think with his market, because like when you think of the top 10 NBA players, arguably in that mix, but like, is he a top 5 player? And I think we can all sit here and say no. And if he's still on the Blazers, his market's really not going to do anything. But imagine if he's able to do something with that Blazers team, if he stays. Now, the Heat lost a lot of, you know, role players. They lost a lot of guys. So the Heat, you know, they're going to look like a different team with or without Lillard. This is my thing with Lillard is I think he's cheap enough to get into low stuff, high stuff, to the point where it's worth the investment. Because again, if he's able to do anything on his own in Portland, which they have Scoot Henderson, very young, good player. I mean, I think that would be very appealing, especially where he wanted to get traded, but he stayed home. You know, he did it, you know, the right way. Or if he does get traded to whether it's the Heat, I know the Clippers are on the market, the Celtics are in the mix, the Knicks, whoever. It's like, oh, Dame, most loyal guy, finally got his chip. He finally deserved it. So I think he's a buy right now just because what's there to lose? Like, if you buy a nice Giannis card, like, yeah, he's won 1 championship, but like, I think there's just so much more volatility at that price point compared to a Damian Lillard. Personally, that's how I feel about his market.
No, I agree. I think I'd buy Damian Lillard just because when that move happens, depending on the
You're saying
team,
when? You're saying when? You think it will happen?
It will happen.
Okay.
But yeah, when it happens, depending on the team, people are going to go crazy. People are going to be looking for him, wanting to buy him, and all that stuff. So I think right now, if you could find him at a good price before the boom, then I would do it.
I think we're both kind of having the same idea right now. Is like we're strategically making these moves. We're not just selling just to sell. We're not buying just to buy. Like we see the vision. So we're selling Mahomes with a vision. We're buying Lillard with a vision. We see what's the potential. We're not just doing it blindly just to flip it a week from now. Like we're buying and selling for long-term purposes. And I think this next player that I'm going to segue into is another long-term play because they just retired, and that's Tom Brady.
Ooh.
So the GOAT among GOATs, arguably the best athlete of all time. I mean, we could sit here and debate that with, whoever you want, but it's really hard to stack up his resume against others. But he's done playing. So he says. But I think he's done. Now, the rule of thumb is once you stop playing, your market only goes up 3 times. When you retire, when you get elected to the Hall of Fame, and when you physically walk into the Hall of Fame. Brady's already accomplished 1. He is now retired. What else is going to cause his value to go up? I mean, maybe dating Kim Kardashian, that might help. Who knows? But like, we don't focus on Peyton Manning. We don't focus on Joe Montana, Phillip Rivers. Pick any of these great quarterbacks that are now retired. It's all about the guys who are playing on Sunday and what they're doing for us now. That's the market we're in. Brady's not doing anything for us anymore. So, Ricky, are we buying the GOAT or are we selling the GOAT?
As much as I would love to say buy Tom Brady, just because he's Tom Brady and all that stuff, I do think you have to sell him.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, like you said, what more can you do to make it go up and all that stuff? And there will always be Tom Brady buyers who are willing to pay top dollar for his stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you find the right person, you'll get more than enough for it, and then invest in other players that'll maybe go up. So I think I'll sell Tom Brady.
Now, this is the first one we're going to differ on because I'm buying Tom Brady.
Okay.
And this is what I'm not buying Tom Brady to go sell him in a month from now when, we hear that him and Kim K are officially dating. I'm not buying him because he's going to be a shoo-in to the Hall of Fame. He's going to get, whatever the word is, week 1 for the Pats. He's going to have a little Tom Brady night. That's not why I'm buying Brady. I'm buying Brady because winning championships in any sport is tremendously hard.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Russell, 11. Yogi Berra, 10. I think 10 or 11. Tom Brady, 7. Michael Jordan, 6. I mean, you got Tim Duncan at 5, Kobe at 5, and that's pretty much it that I can think of just off the top of my head. Everyone's saying Patrick Mahomes has the best chance, and he probably does. But what if he falls very short? I think if Mahomes only walks away with 3 or 4, then I think it's going to show and recognize what Brady did as next level. Yeah, he won 3 Super Bowls early on. He won 4 Super Bowls later on. And then there was like that little 10-year gap where he didn't win anything because winning in sports is very, very hard. And for a man, or just a player, I should say, in modern sports to win as much as he did, and kind of as often as he did, is going to be very, very hard to beat. There was a 3-year gap between Mahomes' first 2 Super Bowls. I don't know what, he's going to be able to do over the next 10 years, but I think once Mahomes doesn't start winning more and more Super Bowls, I think that's really going to kind of highlight the success that Brady had and how rare it is to walk away from a career healthy and have 7 championships after 23 seasons. So that's why I'm buying Brady on top of him being the GOAT and on top of, tons of Brady collectors and Patriot fans around here, kind of things you alluded to.
Yeah. With you being in New England, you'll never have a problem moving Brady.
No, never. And I think being in New England helps, but I'm also trying to have my mindset when I say, I'm going to buy Brady. Again, from a national perspective, like my take with Mac Jones, just because there's Brady fans everywhere. There's even Brady fans in Tampa Bay, obviously, after the few seasons there. And as much hate as he got, people still like him. And he's kind of undoubtedly the best player in football, the GOAT of football. And I don't think there's a debate in any way, shape, or form, especially 6, 7, 8 years down the road when Mahomes starts to fall short, and he's like 35 and he still only has 2 or only has 3. Jesus. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think we differ on opinion on that.
I mean, he's a great sell. Don't get me wrong. I just, you could sell. He's done. He's not playing anymore. He, went out damn near on top.
Next guy for me, this guy was hot during the pandemic. People thought he was going to be the next superstar. Baseball shortstop, Anthony Volpe.
Ooh.
Now he started his career pretty slow this year, but he's still young. He's still a kid, still on the Yankees. What do you think? Buying or selling Anthony Volpe?
So I like how you mentioned, but he was very hyped up. Still a ton of potential, being extremely young. And I view him almost as I view Judge. Is he's a Yankee. Great following. As nasty as that fan base is, they're a strong fan base, maybe even the strongest in sports. So you'll never have a problem selling any Yankees card. I also look at Volpe as the same situation as Dominguez, young up-and-coming player, has his highs, had his lows. I'm buying Anthony Volpe because of all that hype and all that high expectations as being the premier shortstop of a premier team, but he hasn't lived up to it yet. So I think if he doesn't pan out, let's say he doesn't, but let's hope he does, I think I could still be able to recoup what I invested into him because of the name on the jersey. Yankees, New York. I think that alone will allow me to break even. But let's say he does pan out, couple all-stars, he's very, very good, 300 hitter. Those cards are going to fly up in value because he's living up to that potential that we're all waiting for. He is the next great Yankee for the next 15 years. So I think there's way too much upside to not buy Volpe.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned the potential because this kind of how J-Rod panned out. Like he started off hot. Right now he's kind of slow, so people already forget about him. They want the instant gratification of if you're a superstar, you got to be a superstar your whole career, or else we're moving on from you.
It's almost like you can't have a down period. Like exactly. You can't go 0 for 4 one game without people like hating on you.
Done. Yeah.
Exactly. It's wild with baseball.
Well, yeah, I'm buying Volpe. I think he should be pretty cheap right now.
He has more.
He has a lot of potential. People were calling him the next Derek Jeter before he came up. Bit of a stretch, but
I look at any young player like this. What if I don't think he will, but what if he gets traded? Right? Yankees just aren't buying in on him. They lost their faith in him, but everybody still has that high potential, that high faith in him. Think that he can still play, but the Yankees don't. So let's say a team like, I don't know, the Giants, whatever, trade for him. Okay, they're a premier team, premier fan base, fresh new start. I mean, they're kind of going to be hitting a rebuild fairly soon. Good young players over there. Something like that could spark plug him. And again, I don't think he'll get traded, but I do think, if the Yankees were to, I think that also helps his value because I'm going to be marking another player on this weekend's buy or sell post that I'm making. And it's listen, I don't think they'll get traded. But what if? Because whenever a player gets traded, the value always spikes. I mean, once Damian Lillard gets traded, if he does, regardless where he goes, people are just going to buy. People are going to buy because of the potential of the new team. So we've agreed on a bunch of takes. We've disagreed on a few. This one, I think we're either going to extremely agree on or we're going to completely disagree. There's no gray area. There's no oh, yeah. Okay. Jordan Love. Next great Packers quarterback, been in the system for 3 years. It's literally the same blueprint Aaron Rodgers followed once he replaced Brett Favre. Gonna be an uphill challenge, but the NFC North is wide open. He's got good young receivers. He knows the system better than any new starting quarterback because he's been in the league and in that same system for 3 years under learning Aaron Rodgers. I mean, I've been a fan of Jordan Love. I wanted the Pats to draft him in 2020. Upset that they didn't, but I'm so happy that he's finally going to get his chance. What are you doing? Are you buying or are you going to be selling Jordan Love?
I think I'm going to be selling Jordan Love.
Ooh. Why is that?
I just don't see it with him, to put it.
Is it him or is it the team he's on?
Maybe a good mixture of both.
Okay.
Because I don't think he has the same the weapons that Aaron Rodgers had. I don't think he has the same team that Aaron Rodgers had.
So
That's a tough one.
it's super tough because, and it helps that the division's open. You know, Vikings won the division. Are they going to be the same? There's always question marks around them. Lions, ton of potential. They got to just replicate what they did last year. Bears, ton of potential, but they got a lot of new faces. Again, Packers, they expect to be in the playoffs. They expect to be winning games and championships, but that's not going to be the case this year. But it does help, again, like I mentioned, that Jordan Love's been in this. It's not like they just drafted him and they're like, all right, week 1, go. So, like, I think him being in the system for 3 years, him learning under Aaron Rodgers, I think it all helps put him in a good position. Now, will that translate? Who knows? And I think it also helps that the NFC is much, much more weaker compared to the AFC in terms of quarterback, talent, and just teams expected to be in the playoffs. Because I'll sit here and say this all day. You could argue that every single team in the AFC, with the exception of maybe like the Texans, are a playoff team or should be in the playoffs. Maybe the Browns even. But like in the NFC, you have the 49ers, the Eagles, and who else that you can sit here and say are playoff teams. I mean, again, we could speculate the Vikings, we could speculate the Bears, I mean, Falcon. I mean, yeah, we could do this all day, but I think Jordan Love's in a good position to succeed. And therefore I'm buying because the price point, again, like Mac Jones, is super low. And I think there's so much room for him to shine. What if he starts the season 5-2 and he just looks really, really good? I think for the price point to get into Jordan Love cards, it's worth the risk to the point where, again, if it doesn't work out, break even, well, you should be able to break even, maybe lose a little bit. Like the risk isn't crazy in comparison to what the reward could be, if that makes sense.
I gotcha. I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I told you, we're either going to completely agree or we're going to be completely no gray area. So it's like, we got to make each other understand here. This hobby, I mean, Jordan Love could look good week 1. Everyone's buying him. He could suck and no one wants to touch him. So it's week 1's going to be crucial. Going away takes before we wrap up this video leading up to the national, like a sneaky buy. Like I need super sneaky.
Super sneaky buy at the national. Even though I said sell him.
Oh,
Mac Jones, if he's there at the right price.
I agree. I agree.
If he's it has to be the right price.
I agree.
But if you could get him at the right price, I would take the chance.
So my sneaky buy, also a quarterback in the AFC East, Tua. Listen, I know the injury concerns. They're real. That team's good. You could arguably say they're the best team on roster in the division, and I think that's accurate. If Tua, again, huge caveat, we don't want to root for injuries, but if he's healthy, his market is so down bad right now because of his injury history. If he plays well and stays healthy, and they make the playoffs and they looks good and all that stuff, it's just going to boom. And no one's thinking about him because we're all focused on Burrow, Mahomes, Lawrence, all those other big names. People forgot about him. So I think he's worth the risk. If you can get a nice whatever card for $200, I think it's worth the risk. So that's my sneaky buy.
All right. I can see that.
I appreciate you so much, Ricky. Thank you again for coming on. I cannot wait to upload this and get this out there. I can't wait for the national. I'll see you in Chicago. Hopefully this video is a great segue and a lead up to the national.
Not a problem, Murph. Thank you for having me again. And I'll see you in less than 2 weeks.
Literally less than 2 weeks. So we're recording this on Friday. 2 weeks from now will be the national. So it's like 10 days or so. Cannot wait.